Now, every single person I have ever taught to play guitar in all the years I've been teaching has struggled with this chord. I struggled with this chord. Everybody struggles with this chord. It's almost a bit of a rite of passage. If you're going to play guitar, you have to struggle your way through playing F chord. But you learn loads in the process. Your fingers develop loads of kind of better techniques and strength and flexibility, and it's something you can't avoid it, right? You have to face it, and the only way to do it is to practice it and practice it and practice it. Now, what I am going to show you is a few different ways of playing an F chord. Now, the first one, which is really the one that I kind of recommend, is going to be the F bar chord. Now, there are smaller ways of doing it which are easier, and for some people are a better way of doing it, but I've been really experiencing a lot of progress with students that I'm just throwing straight into the deep end and going, try this bar chord. And I think it works. About 70% of the time people just get it, and then they've got the big chord from then on, which is great. For those of you that struggle, or if you're young and your fingers are a little bit small, a little bit weak, you might not be able to play the first big F chord that I show you, and you might have to resort to one of the other two. But that's okay. You use those other two as well. I still use the little two as well. It's not just like the big one is the big daddy and that's the proper one and the other ones never get used. They all get used, just the big bar chord one is the toughest one. So here's our little F chord, and this is an F bar chord, because this first finger here is creating a bar and pressing down all of the strings. We do have, of course, fingers in front of the bar which enable us to play our F chord. And the way to think of this chord that you're playing is it's really kind of an E chord, but your first finger is replacing the nut. So if I go back and I show you, there's an E chord. Now if I play the same dots of the E chord but remove my first finger, second finger goes to where first finger was, third finger goes where second finger, and little finger goes where third finger was. We've still got an E, sounds the same, but it's now using different fingers. If we slide that upper fret and put our first finger down, we end up with an F bar chord. Now this is difficult because of how much pressure you have to do here between your thumb and your first finger in order to hold that finger down and press all of the notes. It is a tough chord, there's no doubt about it. It also helps if you think your first finger is kind of pressing in a bit sideways. It's not really the flat of the finger, it's really the kind of the angled edge. If I'm here, we're still in shot, Jed? So it's this little kind of that part of your finger that does the pressing. It's not the fleshy part down here, because that's too soft. We're after this little edge part, which is really hard. So when it's on your chord there, it's nice and tight and it can really lock in. The thing to do with it, if you're going to try this F, is have a bit of a go at it. Maybe you try it for a week. Pick out the notes one at a time. See if you can get most of the notes ringing out, and if you can get, say, 3 out of the 6 ringing out clearly, then you want to persevere probably with trying to do this version of the F chord. The hardest notes to do are these thinnest 2 strings, is getting the bar down enough to work on those 2. Now, if you really want to persevere with this one, you might want to go and check out the videos I've got on playing bar chords as well, just because those videos go for 20 minutes or something, and there's a lot more information than I can go through here on playing the bar, because only a certain percentage of you are going to be able to do this bar chord F. So those of you that don't want to do this one, or find the bar chord a little bit too full on, you might want to go to this second version, which I call old school. And in this version we've taken away the note from the thickest string, so we're no longer having to do a big bar, but we do have to do a little bar here with the first finger, which is covering 2 strings. So instead of being on the point like we have been for all of our chords so far, or most of the chords, we're doing a little bar, much like the A mini bar we looked at, and we're trying to think of keeping that knuckle forward too. That's pretty important. Then the other fingers are in the same position as they were for the other F chord. That's second finger, 2nd fret, 3rd string, 3rd finger, 3rd fret, 5th string, and little finger underneath 3rd fret, 4th string, and 1st finger down. For most people, they find it easier to do it that way, to do 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger, and then try and get that bar down. It does feel a little bit awkward. Most people struggle with this chord, not normally as much as the big bar chord F, but it's still a little difficult. The thing that you want to do here is make sure the 3rd finger is muting that 6th string. It only just has to touch the 6th string lightly, and we've still got ourselves a pretty nice F chord. Of course we haven't got an F bass note on this chord, but it sounds pretty cool, and this is the one used a lot in the kind of the old school in the 60s and 70s, most people played the F chord like this. Now, if that's still, you're finding that a little bit too big, you can also do this third version, which I call the small F, which is those first two fingers stay the same, and we just have a third finger here on the thinner string. So if you remember back to our F major 7 chord, which looked like this, very nice simple little chord, and all we'd have to do is lay the first finger, lift it up and put it down flat so it covers the thinnest two strings, and we have now our F chord, which is kind of an F mini chord, if you like. And this is a very common chord way of playing F chord for beginners. You can still need a little bit of strength there with the thumb in the back. Now, there's a more advanced version of this one as well, where you can actually wrap your whole hand around and bring your thumb over the top here to play the bass note with your thumb. Now, I definitely don't recommend you doing that one for now. That one's pretty tough, but just in case you see other people, or you might see me doing it, I very often play bar chord F like this instead of playing bar chord F like that. So just be aware of it, but I wouldn't be trying to do the thumb wrapping over technique until you're well into your intermediate kind of level guitar stuff, not as a beginner. You've got there 3 different ways to play F. It is a tough little cookie, as I said. Everyone struggles with it, including me. I had a horrible time with F chord when I learned it. In fact, I struggled with G chord as well, which most of my students don't seem to, but I found G really hard. So don't be one of those guys like me that runs around looking for songs that don't have F or G in it. That's not cool. Just face up to it, get in there and practice it, because it is only practice that's going to make it better. Your hand's going to hurt a little bit, particularly this muscle in here between your thumb and your first finger. This is the muscle that has to get the biggest workout from your bars. It is a bit tough, just takes practice, just like going to the gym or whatever. Every time you're doing it, you're making that muscle work a little bit harder and it gets a little bit stronger. So that's F. This is a really important part of this stage. There is another important part as well. Like I said earlier, this is an important stage. You've got an F chord and you've got to learn to use ties as well, which is a strumming technique. So lots of practice on your F chord, and I'm going to see you very shortly for some 1-minute changes involving F.